Welcome to the Modern Pet Retailer, where independent pet retailers come together to run better businesses, make smarter decisions, and stop leaving money on the table. Thank you so much for joining us. I've got Dave here, and today we're chatting about lead capture for independent pet retail. And most independent pet retailers are either not capturing leads or they're capturing them and they don't do anything with them, which makes them basically pointless. So today we want to talk about different things we can build within our businesses and in our systems so that when we have new customers walk in, we can capture that information and get valuable insights into things we might be spending money on, like our ad campaigns and our marketing campaigns, and get that information back so that we know which funnels are working and which ones we need to improve, and that we can retarget them later. A lead is someone that says, "Hey, I'm interested in your business, but I didn't know you existed. I don't know what products you carry," and you have to nurture leads in order to get them to come shop with you. You probably already track the foot traffic that you get in your store already versus your lost customers, so you kinda know what kind of growth you're looking at. Now we need to add your leads versus your foot traffic, so the stage before. We don't wanna know just how many we're capturing, we wanna know where they're coming from and how many are actually converting and coming to the store. Our favorite in 2026 of ways to track your leads and build lead magnets because everything is tracked. You can use Google Analytics, you can use your CRM analytics, social media analytics to see where people have seen your content, seen how they got the information and to know they come to your store. And that's going to be our primary focus is basically using that data loop to improve these systems once we have them built. I think the days are gone of where you're sending out those costly mailers and they give vague value or lackluster value and they may or may not convert and they already cost you thousands of dollars just to send them and get them in people's mailbox just to be thrown away or paying for a billboard type ad and it costs you 2 to $5,000 and you have no idea how many people saw that billboard that came to your store and actually converted. So we don't wanna spend money and not know if it actually worked. We're basically just using that money and putting it in the middle of the floor and setting it on fire and hoping it works. So that's what we wanna avoid, and that's why we're focusing on these online traffic drivers. We're gonna go through step by step today on how to capture leads, how to build lead magnets, and how to get more leads. And basically the process of after you have these leads, how you nurture them and get them to come back. So let's jump into it and we're going to talk about how to ways to capture leads. And a lot of people don't jump into social media and everything because they assume you have to spend quite a bit of money or Google because you have to spend quite a bit of money to be seen. But the nice thing is since you are a small business, a little money goes a long way. If Chewy drops a $100 ad on something, it's probably not going to hit their target audience, but $100 spent by a small business that's trying to hyper focus a local area is gonna go a lot farther. I don't want anybody to get anxious about, "I have to start spending thousands of dollars on online marketing for any of this to work." You can start very small, and once we find out what works with that small budget, you basically just turn up the dial because you're printing money at that point. You're putting $100 in, and you're getting 50 customers that generate you $1,000 a month. You just keep turning that up until that stops happening. So we can talk about online ads. Always want to go and drive people to a very specific spot. Usually the first stage of an online ad before you tell them, "Hey, come visit us in store," is a landing page. So you're promoting a product or you're promoting a service. They wanna land on a very specific page or a form that you generated that helps capture them. The ad or the lead capture stage is not to make a sale. We wanna basically give some exchange of value, whether it's information or coupon of some sort in exchange for their contact information so that we build reciprocity. Once you start building reciprocity, it starts generating the little voice in the back of their head. They're like, "This store has given me a lot of value and I haven't even been there yet." So you get the urge to go to these places to see them, what they're about, and maybe make a purchase. So that's what we're building in this whole phase. And then retargeting ads for people who have already visited your website. Back before the internet, a customer used to have to see you about 7 times before they acted, before they come and seen you. So they've seen those billboards, they've seen the mailers you sent in the mail, or they drove past your store on a regular basis. Now, since we live in such a digital age, the market is so saturated with businesses and content that people can get in front of pretty much anybody at any time. They have to see you 15 to 28 times in order for them to drive into your store. So the attention market is just so competitive and we have to be on top of it. We have to be at least in the running. We can't just post organically and expect people to see it. The paid ads will always win over the organic content. Dave, why would you recommend online marketing over outdated print or postal? Because you've been in this industry for over 30 years and you've probably done all of those things before this digital age.
You mentioned or alluded to a few of the items that I would have in mind when we're comparing online to both print media and, other forms of, like you said, billboards. And you can even throw, we're not into the TV advertising scale, but so many of those things are just not fast. And that's the benefit of digital is you get fast feedback and you can test incrementally to your own scale, the $100 spend. And that's perfectly reasonable. And you want to test across different platforms, different subject lines, different content type material. Super, super easy and inexpensive to do. You could put out 20 different options and look for the feedback loop that you're getting in responses. You just can't match that in mailers or coupon postcards, stuff like that. Like you said, billboards, just like you change a billboard every 3 months and there's just no way to test that. Having said that, there is kind of an interesting progression where sometimes postal and print can be used. I would only use it after you've done all of the other work. What is the best headline? What is the best offer? What is the best next step for your customers to take? If you're in a small town, maybe postal will work, but I wouldn't do it first. I would definitely use digital as your test bed, as your low dollar, see what works. Another thing that you kind of started to mention is that your lead generation is not a sales pitch. It's a get to know you. It's let's take the next step. It's relationship development. Talked about it last week with the headline leads you to read the body and the body leads you to the call to action. This is the sort of same thing where we're developing relationship. We're asking the customer to get to know us and we're offering something of value to move them into the next step. So, but digital is definitely the best way to go is that fast feedback and that low dollar testing.
I feel like when we get approached by a third party printing company that does those types of mailers, it's your hands are tied with what you can and can't do. You either have to do a minimum of 100 houses, which it's going to be 25 cents per postcard or whatever the case is, or the languaging you can use. So you just have so much more freedom with the digital to do exactly what you want. You do have to constrict yourself to Google and social media ad policies, but as long as you stay within those bounds. So there are 3 types of lead forms or lead magnets that we primarily use in our store and what I think would pretty much go across any retail store. So you could use website forms. This can look like ask our nutrition expert a question and you're generating a contact form for them to ask you a question. These are really rich if you want to find out who's got sensitive stomach or some of the problems that people might be having, and you can start tagging them from there. We have in-store nail service. So we have a scheduling page that captures leads to do the in-store nails. We're adding a new puppy or new kitten lead form. So basically, if you have a new puppy or kitten and you need to ask a bunch of questions all at once, we can schedule you in store. And then there's exit intent pop-ups. These are your last ditch effort to capture somebody before they leave. If you offer e-commerce, you could offer a discount, or if you wanna offer an in-store discount of some sort, just something to grab their attention. What I see a lot of people do the exit intent pop-ups is their monthly newsletter or their monthly email group. Most people don't know what the value is. If you just have a pop-up that says join our and find all the other information, it usually doesn't convert as well as some kind of offer of some sort, or if you give them a taste of kind of what people benefit from monthly mailer or something like that. So try to get as specific as possible about what you can offer the customer in those exit intent pop-ups. We'll jump into kind of all the different lead magnets and what the differences are. But if this is basically something you can offer in exchange for their contact information, something you can build like a downloadable resource, like a how-to guide, trim your dog's nails, how to reset the dog's diet if they have digestive issues, nutritional cheat sheets, pet checklists, all of these different types of things you can build. Coupons, first visit discounts, and then free services. So if you offer a self-service dog wash or the nail trimming service, training in your store, This is a big one because if you do it for free and it only costs you the labor in which you provide it or a little bit of the hard costs, it can turn into a very consistent customer. And then the final one, which is what the old standard was, it was going to local community events and networking at these events. If you're a new business, there might be a lot of value in these types of things because 'cause you're basically putting a face to the brand and kinda going meeting people. We've stopped doing them a lot more recently because 'cause we've been around for 88 years, so anybody that attends local community events probably knows about us, but these are great ways if you're a younger business to capture new pet parent information. So having some kind of sign-up sheet for either your newsletter or whatever services you offer, doing like a raffle, some kind of incentive instead of just asking people for their email and having good conversations with people. So if they give you your email, you can maybe make some quick notes. They have a cockapoo and they've never been able to get this cockapoo to eat anything or something like that. Giving yourself as much information as possible about the individual lead is great at the events themselves because you're literally talking to them. So try to give yourself a leg up so that when you do follow up with them, ideally that night after the event, you can say, "Hey, it was a pleasure talking with you at this event. I would love a chance to talk to you about your cockapoo's needs in the store. When would be a great time to chat?" or something like that. You could just be very specific in the follow-up marketing to that conversation. I talked about our Harvest Fest that we have. So we have an event that's at our store that we host, used opt-ins to try and get traffic to come to that. A 2-week campaign produced like 500 leads, and then we had converted some of those leads. I can't remember exactly the number from last week, but we have all of those names of people that were interested in that event that we can retarget with content. They were interested in an adoption event at some point. Maybe they're gonna adopt and they just didn't come to this event and they're gonna adopt later, so they're still in the mindset of being a pet owner, if not already. Now, Dave, some stores might have lead generating things already. Where do you think the leads slip through in the cracks without owners even realizing it?
I like the way that you laid out the 3 common ways for generating leads, and alignment is a big thing that you mentioned, and the Harvest Fest one, especially for us, is really incredible because we know there's an intent and interest. When I think about, like, leads slipping through the cracks, essentially, I think any point of contact with existing customers or potential customers is a good way to think about it, even though that we don't think of our existing customers as lead. So basically, if we're not using our existing customers as part of our follow-up campaigns and customer contact, newsletter, reach out, is we're wasting that. We're not utilizing our existing customer base. Our point of sale system, we capture our customers' names with that. And our program, I think we're probably close to 95% utilization where they're known customers. And that's incredible. So we have all of those. Now, again, they're existing customers we might not think of it as leads, but just continuing the conversation, reaching out to them, giving them new offers. But around town, anywhere that you mentioned with the fence, you want to try to stay as specific as possible. So maybe you can go to a dog park. Literally anybody in there should have a dog. Hey, you can partner with people that have attributes to your customer. Again, maybe they're homeowners or your most of your customers, different things, but you want alignment. And this really, if we're not doing, this is where the leads get lost. You really mentioned digital first. And that's one of the things that you have the drive the customer to something that is in alignment with your store and capture it. And you also mentioned, I think is very important, is following up with very specific responses to what they expressed interest in. And it's just, this is one of the things that's easy to do and easy not to do. If we're not doing it, we're just losing so many of those potential customers and potential to reach out to our existing customers with just more offers and more connection.
So this week, I want you to ask yourself, where in your store or on your online presence do you currently collect people's information, whether it's for a newsletter drop or a form fill? And where are you probably losing people you could be capturing? What are some of these things that you possibly could implement on your website that would be beneficial for you to get this information from the customers? So, jumping into kind of lead magnets before we introduce all the benefits and everything from a lead magnet, I want to talk about how to not build the wrong type of lead magnet. A bad lead magnet is worse than a lead magnet at all, basically. You can get the wrong style of customer, the wrong type of customer, wrong demographic of customer if you present yourself as one thing over another. So you want to make sure that you really nail this because otherwise you could be getting a bunch of leads that are no benefit to you at all. Or worse, they could be you could be paying money to generate these leads, but they might not even be pet owners. If you don't get specific with the targeting or with the marketing creative, you can get the wrong information and the wrong people. So the lead magnet has to be aligned with your business and your ideal customer. And if you attract the wrong person with the wrong offer, you're wasting your time and your money. Dave, I know you have a strong opinion about couponing. What is your opinion about making your lead magnet just a coupon type concept?
We do use coupons occasionally, but I always think about it as all of your communication to your customers is grooming your customer. You're developing a path to entry to your store in the way that you reach out. If your store is basically a discount store, coupons are probably appropriate. We want to be pretty premium. We want to be known as expertise and knowledge based. We have great retention of our employees, great products, quality, and we're not so concerned about price. So my concern with over couponing is that we're actually creating an atmosphere of discount and expectation of discount. And I think that's dangerous for the type of narrative and store that we are trying to build. You really do have to think about that. I mean, there was a pet supply store locally to us who doesn't exist anymore, and they would do up to 40% off coupons. And as that store changed hands, the new owner stopped that. That was not their model. The old customers would come in and be like, "Where are my coupons? Where are my coupons? Where are my coupons?" And the new owner is like, "Check the price. Our prices are better on the shelf than they would be if you were using a coupon from the old guy." And what they had done is they'd actually created a brand that revolved around discount. I mean, who goes to Bed Bath and Beyond without a 20% off coupon? They flood the mailers with them. They put them in the newspaper. I don't even know if they're still in business. They're probably, I think there's a few around in our area, but the point would be like, you would never go to that store unless you had a coupon in your hand. It's just a dangerous thing. You are building the relationship in the way that you want to be perceived. And that goes through all communication, including these outreaches and these lead generations, your newsletters and all of that. So just as Tiff said, be very thoughtful and mindful as you develop your program and be very considerate about who you want to attract into your store. Who's going to replicate your current best customers or your aspirational best customers and start to create the narrative around that. Super important to think about who you're going after.
And some other examples of a bad lead magnet could be if you are doing the product giveaway type intention and it's a product you don't intend to carry, you're trying to get liquidated, get rid of it. You don't want to create that as a lead magnet, try to get people through the door because you're building the promise of that product will be there later. We don't want to have that. Giving away something that attracts deal hunters, Dave was saying, rather than your ideal customer. With couponing, if you get specific, you'll less likely have that deal hunter type person. So if you have a list of people that you know have sensitive dogs, either their sensitive skin, stomach, and you give them an X coupon off of a sensitive line, it's way more specific, way higher to convert. And it doesn't attract all of those, I just get me some free food type people. It's already people that have a problem and need an answer. So if you give them a generic $50 off any bag of food, you're going to get those types of people and it's just not useful. Finally, offer something that has nothing to do with your pets or your store. One of my favorite stories that Dave's about to tell is the iPad story, and I think I'll Dave tell it here.
I don't recall the exact origin, but it was sort of lead generation, especially online, as they're trying to generate huge user bases. And a common marketing tactic in order to create a large user base was to offer a raffle for something compelling, like an iPad. They're expensive. Everybody was interested. And if you generate your leads and your customer list based on something that is completely irrelevant to your business, you're going to get a lot of leads. It's just not the leads that are going to be relevant to your business. You're going to find a whole lot of people that want a free iPad, and not a whole lot of people that are interested in your store, pet supplies. It's, it's kind of interesting what we put out there is you don't actually want leads. You want people who are interested in your store and the products that you offer. So be very cautious about leads by themselves are a vanity metric. They're just for looks. Oh, I got 100 leads. Great. How many people are pet owners? How many people are in the demographic, psychographic interest group that your store represents? Those are the real leads. Those are the ones that you're after because you can have the conversations. Just using sensitive stomach as an example. And when you can solve a customer problem, they're going to be a customer for a very long time because they're going to be very happy with you. So you get very specific and you engage at the level that you can show off your skills, that your employees are knowledgeable and can help solve that sensitive skin or stomach problem and find the right product lines. So make sure if you do, I'd be cautious of any raffle because again, you potentially are looking at the I want free stuff customer and not I'm interested in your best offer. So the iPad is it can go wrong really quick and you're spending tons of money on finding a whole lot of people that have no interest in your actual offering.
Yeah, we use raffles in our store, but usually, like I said, they follow that very problem specific thing. So we have 4th of July coming up. We gifted some products for CBD that we like to basically try to promote the brand for them. And we used a social post of just saying, hey, does your dog get anxious around this time of year between the sound of the fireworks and everything? We want you to try this product. So basically, we will give it to you for free if you opt-in, however the opt-in was for that post. I'm just somebody that wants to try a CBD product. That post might not resonate with me immediately if my dog doesn't have anxiety around the fireworks. So it's going to try and target the more specific people that you're trying to figure out and solve a problem for. So there's definitely useful ways of using a raffle, but generic, like a bunch of manufacturers jumping into a basket, usually gets a lot of traction and does capture at least pet owners, but it gets hard to control if they're in our local area and they're actually gonna be half decent customers. I think if you're building a lead magnet for your store or anything like that, if you just ask yourself, "Is the person that's gonna get this or read this or whatever it is that the same person I want in my store?" Do you give them an informational about how to pick the cheapest dog food? Is that the type of customer you want in your store? How to do a value shop on dog food? I mean, it might be if you were that discount store and you're trying to compete with other discount stores, but for our example, that would not be an ideal customer for us. We want somebody that wants to take genuine nutrition information and absorb it and use it to better their dog's health. But if the answer is no to I don't think this brings the right person in, go back to the drawing board. Don't put something out that you are not confident that you would really like as a consumer for your store.
Finding who are we looking for to your point of like really trying to focus on the correct person, not the tire kickers, not the people that are not relevant to your stores. If you've been in business for a little while, I think it's really useful to reflect on your existing customers. And there's always going to be a distribution between the best, the top 20%, the top 10%, and the bottom 10%. Maybe the bottom 10% just happened to show up once, bought something, and you never saw them again. And the top 10% are, they've got a whole bunch of pets in the household and they're buying tons of stuff every week. And these are incredible customers. So looking at like at least the top 20, 30% of your customers and who are they? What are their interests? How close do they live to your store? So basically getting more and more of this information of who you consider your best customers. And it doesn't just have to be about dollar spend. It could be, we've talked a lot about trying to educate is who are those customers that take your advice happily and implement it to the benefit of their pet. Because if you just have people who come in and do a lot of talking and try something, but then they give up and they're probably not an ideal customer. So just really do a lot of thinking about using the information that you already have available to you. Who's in your store? Who are your best customers? Who are the easiest to deal with? Who are the most engaged in taking care of their pets in the way that you agree with? think about how you could talk to them, how you can attract them, how you can find more people like them.
So now that we know what we don't want to build, what kind of lead magnet would attract the wrong person, let's talk about building them and building ones that work for us. Everything that I'm about to speak about is basically in this book, $100 Million Leads by Alex Ramosi. I did not come up with any of this by myself, other than the ideas of how we implemented it in our business. So just a caveat there. It's a great read. It's not very long read, but it kind of opened up my eyes to a lot of the different possibilities and ways of generating leads I didn't think about, as opposed to getting outside those just event networking of things and generating leads and using email marketing. So it's a great read, but everything that I'm about to go through is a synopsis of that and how we implemented it into our business. So we talked about solving a problem for a customer. We want to build something very specific that solves a problem. And we do this by categorizing how we want to generate our leads. So we have a couple different buckets that we put people into initially when we capture our leads. It's either our services department, which is our bath, which is its own bucket, or self service bath, nail trimming, which is its own bucket, and then problem specific issues. So I talk about sensitivities, anxiety, a couple different other taglines for a pet owner. And then another one's like new pet owner. Anybody that's just got a pet that was asking a bunch of questions about how to raise a pet in whatever case. So you want to categorize these because it helps you build something that's specific for that problem. Because if you build a lead mag that's generic, it's people are not going to resonate with it when they see the content you're promoting to get people to join and do it or use it. And if you send the same lead magnet and the same follow-up to every person, like I said, you're leaving a conversation on the table. You're not solving a problem for somebody. You're just trying to tell people who you are. You're not building that reciprocity if you're just like, "Hey, this is who I am. This is who I service. This is who I care about. This is what I'm about." They're like, "Yeah, but what's that do for me?" Like, the better you can categorize it, the better that you can get people to say, "Hey, that's me. I want this," or "I want to be a part of this," for whatever reason that resonated with them. So the 2 types of lead magnets that we're gonna talk about that we use, 1, revealing the problem or a free trial. We're either gonna try and reveal that the customer has a problem that they're semi-aware about, or give them something that might be solve a problem for that they might have. So with the reveal a problem, we could use the delivery method of 4 different ways. You could build a piece of software, which is usually not applicable for small independent retail stores. Maybe it will be as AI starts building things for us, but right now, most people don't have enough time for themselves, let alone start building software for their consumers. So that one's not gonna be informationals, so either building a class or a seminar or a digital info download. Like I said, those pet checklists, new pet parent checklists, nutrition guides, anything like that. Something that you can just easily send out over and over and over again. Or doing services for either free or discounted. So like the bath or nails, you could do the work for free and generate the lead that way. And the last one's product trials. And that's going to be, like I said, the 4th of July is coming up. If you get a new CBD product and you're trying to promote, you can try and capture people that actually have that problem, promote that product for them. First thing we want to do is ask, what problem do I want to solve for my customer? And the one we can start with is for us is like our self-service dog wash category. So we have a parent with a smelly dog. Their problem is their dog smells. They're embarrassed by it. It's lowering their social status because they have that dog that stinks. A magnet you could build for this could be a simple discounted first time self-service or a free deodorizer if you have that as like an add-on with the purchase of their first bath or bath booking if you do schedule them. But the core of it is we're capturing the info. We have a dedicated page on our website that says if your dog smells, here, type your name and email in, and we will send you this coupon of some sort. Like we're capturing the information in some capacity. If you have a Facebook or Instagram ad, it's taking them to whatever the landing page is for that type of thing. We want to be as specific as possible when people see the ad or see what the organic content that you're posting about the smelly dog, that they land in the place they're like, okay, I'm in the right place. I want this coupon or I want this offer in some way, shape, or form. And then you build around that captured information an email series about maybe like grooming frequency or coat care, products that help between baths or seasonal reminders is huge. We usually get great feedback when we remind people like, "Hey, Thanksgiving's coming up. Your dog probably smells bad and you don't want people to come over to your house, your dog smelling like that." So, seasonal reminders convert really well in this email follow-ups. That's one example. New pet parent, like a puppy or kitten pet owner, the problem they have is they have no idea what they're doing, or they might be overwhelmed with what they're doing because they either had an animal a long time ago and now they have to relearn how to take care of a newborn animal. These make great little magnets of like the free download, the guides, the first 30 days to expect with a new puppy or new kitten, or the shopping checklists. These are probably things you might already have in your store if you can digitize them and give them to somebody that might not be shopping with you already to provide value and get that reciprocity building. It's just beneficial. And then the follow-up series you'd build for this would be like nutrition stages when you would want to transition from a puppy to adult food, or any kind of training basics you offer, products that you might need as they grow up if they're good aggressive chewers or something like that. These are all things you talk about with customers on a regular basis. You can recite them in your sleep. All we're doing is building a free digital tool, whether you build it and design it with Canva or have an AI generate it for you, that you can give to people if they raise their hand and they're like, "Yes, I'm a new puppy owner. I am overwhelmed. I didn't know about your store. Thank you for this information." And I like capturing these new puppy or new kitten people just because obviously you have the longer lifetime value potential with somebody that just got a new pet, ideally 10 to 15 years, and get them early as possible, as quickly as possible. It could be a pet parent struggling with dietary issues, and there's a million different issues. So I would tackle the three biggest ones first between the sensitivities or stool issues, allergies, low energy, stuff like that. Again, things you talk to on a regular basis with customers, whatever your consistent solution is. You can develop an online quiz to help them evaluate what might be wrong with their pet and set it as, "Hey, if you didn't get the results you were thinking about," lead them to that form reception of, "What would you like to ask our team?" And we can help you further and book a consultation, in-store consultation or something. And the follow-up with these would be education very specific to what they're talking about. We have for some reason, it seems like pancreatitis has kind of been spiking, and we've had a lot of questions about dogs with acute or chronic pancreatitis. We have a whole email series that's education on email or education on pancreatitis and product suggestions. So if we bring a new product in the store that might be friendly to a dog that has that issue, we can let them know about it. Like, "Hey, this is a new treat that would be kind of beneficial if your dog had this problem." New foods doesn't really come out too often, but new treat would be a good example. So
I just want to throw a few comments on there because you talked a lot about it, but didn't point it out explicitly. And if we presume that the leads that are not our customers are shopping for their pet somewhere else, which they are, they have a pet and they're keeping him alive, oftentimes in order to change their buying behavior, there has to be a break. And tip the things that you kind of identified here that are those breaks is new puppy kitten. There's a change to the household. If they have existing animals and you hit them with information about new puppy or kitten and you're showing them how knowledgeable your staff is and the products that you have that are going to be great for their puppy or kitten, that is a pattern break. Healthcare issues are another big pattern break. They went to the vet and the vet said, your dog has to lose weight. Well, they have to change food. And, the vet's of course going to give them some recommendations, but if you are presenting to the problem in a timely way and you have a really valid solution, if they're shopping at Chewy and they're forced to change their food, that's your opening. So Tiff identified a lot of different areas where pet owners have a pattern going on, but then there's some pattern break. And if you're offering solutions that solve that, it's the opening that you need to attract them into your store. So really think about, as Tiff is saying, these very specific points that are likely to change the household's buying behavior. And then that's your sort of wedge into the house, your wedge into the buying behavior so that you can solve their problems. You can be the source of value to the household and encourage them to start buying from you.
the people that are shopping on subscription-based platforms like Chewy.com. There's times when Chewy runs out of food and we'll get a customer comes in and says they're not getting their shipment till X date or something. That's literally a pattern interruption where they had to come into my store to try and find that. So if you can mark those customers of, hey, they're a Chewy purchase, we do our best to try and earn their business at that point. But if you can keep retargeting with that information in mind and be like, hey, I know you shop at Chewy. Again, you can capture more of that information, maybe what they're buying as they buy it at your store. We have it on sale this month just to let you know, or just trying to get them to come back using the information of we deliver, just those types of ads. If you've already seen pattern disruption, I imagine come through in some shape or form. That's the one that kind of stuck out when you said that of just how do we capture the information and use it to value our or to improve that relationship with the customer we just met. So if you feel like you heard a couple of these suggestions and you're feeling a little overwhelmed or like I thought of 6 different ways we could probably implement something to capture this information, I want you to focus on probably what are the 3 major things when a new customer comes in that they're asking you? Are they the new puppy pet type thing? And start working on those top 3 things you get very consistently to build the magnet for. And then you can kinda stem from there. And then you wanna test them to make sure that they, 1, have value to a new pet parent, test them in a small little group of people. You don't wanna just throw something out, and then when it doesn't work, assume it's just because of lead magnets don't work. It could be the way it's structured, it could be the way it's delivered. I know with our new puppy checklist, we tweaked that thing like 50 different times before people started downloading it. So it's just like tweaking it, don't give up on it right away. Sometimes you think the value is when you read it, you're like, "Oh, this is very valuable," or it might be too overwhelming. That's another thing that's very difficult. It's like when you're talking to a new pet parent and then you're getting into the minute details of training and attention and all of the different things that go along with training, that could be like, "Whoa, I just needed you to tell me how to get them to sit," basically. I didn't need to know the demographic of a dog and why different dogs train differently and all the different things you can go into. So don't give up on a magnet that you've built. Just tweak it quite a few times to see and test the different variations. You could also have a lead magnet, like I said, if you're using an online quiz, it might have too many questions and the person just doesn't want to completely finish the quiz. We found with our nutrition consultation lead magnet, we wanted so much information before they even got there. We asked them 50 questions and they were exhausted by question 25. They didn't want to finish it. So we slowly kept shortening it, figuring out what details we needed to actually act on and have good information to what we are at now is if you have a question for us, we'd love to talk to you, schedule because ideally they're going to come in and ask us that question. But if we can time exactly when they're going to be here with the scheduling software and know that they have some kind of concern, we can literally execute on problem solving like we do with every other customer. We can know exactly what new customers coming in and give them that 5-star service that we should be giving them every single time. But, put a little extra sugar on it just to try and make sure we earn that business. We want to build something around those 3 most common issues first. So now that we know how to build a lead magnet, how do you get it out there? How do you get it into people's hands and how to get lead getters. So you have your standard methods, the things that you control, your social media, your newsletters, your email marketing is what forth, but you can invest in people outside of your business in a couple different ways to help you capture more leads and extend your reach. So a few ones I've seen that I really like in this industry is realtors. If you have a realtor that's catering to ideal customer, because I do believe there's different buckets of that you might not wanna be in versus ones that might be servicing maybe a higher end client or anything like that, and that understand your business. You don't want somebody that's just gonna say like, give out left and right because it makes them look better. You want a realtor that understands their client and that they're a pet owner and they seem to really care about their pet because they're choosing literally a property because of the yard and they wanted to focus on the pet, like those types of little nuanced things that realtors get into on a regular basis. So you want a realtor partner that understands your business. Local social pages. We live in it's called the main line is where we're at, and there's a million social pages focused around what's the best place to eat in the main line, what's the best place to take your pet in the main line. There's a million social pages. So finding ones that again align with your brand, that have a decent reach can be a good partner to help you capture leads and giving them, "Hey, I have this thing that would help your audience," if they are pet owners, giving that to them. Having a customer advocate, we have a prior employee that's a customer of ours. She is one of our biggest advocates. Professional referrals, so dog trainers that work locally to you, groomers that work locally to you. Again, asking for people that understand your store. You don't want people to send you bad customers. But these can all be great resources to get you more leads and extend your reach because they have a different audience and their people in their algorithm might not be the same people in your algorithm. So it helps extend that reach.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned customer advocates. Our former employee, she's just an absolutely incredible person. I call her the nicest person in the world. She's very vocal. She loves Braxton's and, basically she loves everybody. And she has brought more customers to us. She'll come in and shop with her own dollars and gift her friends and associates products from Braxton's just to get them to come in and to, it's the type of person she is. And we couldn't ask for a better, I guess, there's the book called Raving Fans. This is the type of person that is extremely happy and willing to talk to everybody about you. I think what we're looking at too is we want to be the person that people, be the company, be the store that people are happy and willing to talk about. So that's our job to do the best we can because recommendation is a status lift. You want to be a status lift when you're referred. It's kind of like when you think about how do you find good employees? Well, you ask your good employees to refer somebody because your good employees are not going to risk referring somebody who couldn't handle the job because it would look bad on them. So they only want to refer people that are going to deliver what your expectations are. And we have to be the same thing as like, in order to have your local professional trainers and your dog walkers and house sitters, and if you don't do grooming, your local groomers, you want them to be happy to refer you because it's, again, it's that sort of status lift. When they refer you, they know that you're going to take care of the customers because they are their customers. They are their friends. They are the realtors. A buyer from a realtor is a customer, I guess. First, you got to be all that you say that you are, right? You have to do the job. You have to be a great store. You have to have the right products. You have to have the right knowledge so that people are happy to refer you. Reach out to those people that can refer you, like Tiff mentioned, the realtors and the other pet professionals that are in alignment. Make sure you deliver on the promises that they're the reasons that they're referring.
And if you do choose to partner with any of these types of people, you want to make the lead magnet or the marketing for the lead magnet as specific to them as possible. So if you're working with a realtor, you're giving them information about welcome to the main line. Here are 10 places you can take your dog this weekend, kind of thing. It's like you're used to the area, you're buying a home here. So that realtor can, so when they get that piece of literature or how they download it from you, you know exactly how well that relationship between you and that realtor is going. They're giving it, they're looking at it. And then when they come in and they have some kind of validation of seeing that, you know that actually converting and that is working. So you wanna make the content specific.
I was just going to say a great one for realtors is come into the store for a new ID tag, right? That's going to be a proof point. The realtor gave them that coupon. It's a benefit to the customer and they have to actually come into the store. So you close that loop of information that we've been talking about with lead generation and lead capture.
When you build all this specific stuff for these different groups of people that could advocate for your store, you could have the customer advocate, they will just speak nice things about you and reference people to you without any thought of getting value back other than the interaction they had with you is value itself. But you could build incentive programs for other professionals to help reward them for sending you good customers. And again, we're going to use the good as the main word is like we don't want a realtor sending us 50 customers and 49 of them are just not our ideal customer. So we want to reward people for sending us good customers. So you could do this a couple different ways. Just doing like a flat discount for their account, which we've done for some of the people that don't necessarily wanna take any kind of reward. You could have, if they get a little business card with your thing on it and a customer brings it in, they can get a discount and maybe incentivize if you spend X, you get X or something like that. There's a million different ways you could do it or build an incentive program, but just build it around something that you can afford to do. And Dave, what words of caution would you use when giving somebody when they're picking a partner to help them with this?
Is really the first word that comes to mind is philosophical or values alignment. You will be associated with your referrer, whether you like it or not. Suppose you have a trainer that works in a style that you don't like, or just a bad personality where they have 1 star on Google. You don't want to work with a person who is going to carry a bad reputation and then you to that bad reputation. So association will happen in your customer's mind or the new customer's mind potential based on who the referrer is. So philosophical values alignment, similar thought process, trust. These are the things I would think about. Veterinarians are a potentially double-edged sword because they carry a lot of influence weight with their clients, but sometimes we don't agree with their practices of prescription diets for everything that you could possibly think of. It's not necessarily the best thing for the customer. The customer has other options, let's say. We respect our local veterinarians, and those can be really good referrals, but definitely pick ones that you have more alignment with, ones that are more open minded to various diet styles. If you sell raw food, you can't really ask for referrals from a veterinarian who bashes raw food. There's not much alignment there, and they're less likely to refer you anyway because you sell raw food. It's really, really important that when someone doesn't know you, that the person that is referring you is a trusted individual, someone who is upstanding, someone that has alignment in values and philosophy. But otherwise, there is a risk of being associated with them in a bad way.
Yeah, if those are your values, a good way to look at it is like, who am I as a consumer already an advocate for? If I have a realtor that I know she takes care of her clients and that she sold me a home or something, and I know the detail she takes when taking care of her clients, and I would just recommend her without any form of reciprocity, they might be good partners right out the gate if they have similar values to your business. Dave mentioned vets. There's two vets to us locally that I'm a raving fan about. I love them. I love their philosophy on how they try to work through nutrition instead of medications, basically. Work medicine through nutrition is their kind of their philosophy. And I send customers to them whether they or not, because I believe that they truly want to help customers in the similar way that I value. That would be my first inkling of who I might want to approach to build this kind of program with. And he said, trainers, if you don't do the adversive training, you wouldn't want to partner with a trainer that practices aversive training. Just think about who you already have contacts with and who you already like within your kind of space. And that can be a good indicator of who you might want to build this with. We've got some lead getters, we got some lead magnets, and now we need to nurture the leads we're capturing because I have any kind of POS system that tracks leads as the new customers come through the door and you're not emailing them a couple times in a month with something very specific and targeted, we're missing a lot of opportunities to get them back in the store. So now that we have these leads, we have this list, we're building this list, and we captured them. We don't want them to go cold, essentially. The window where someone is most open to hearing from you is 72 hours. If you capture a lead and they don't get some kind of immediate response and then a follow up of, hey, did you like the download I sent you? Was it helpful? Could we be helpful in any other way? Can we answer any questions? We don't want them to take our free thing and just go. We want to nurture that relationship. So you could have an email sequence that's automatically set up through your CRM that triggers on time-based or action-based things. So email 1 for a simple nurture sequence could be immediate delivery of whatever they opted in for, plus like a warm welcome, maybe a short introduction. But you wanna send this within minutes. You want this to be automatic. And then email 2 could be 2 to 3 days later of either additional value, but we're not asking for anything in this email. We're just like, "Hey, you opted in for the sensitive skin, stomach information that we have. Did you also know that XYZ can be a problem? Maybe it's not nutrition." Or you could ask yourself these questions. Some kind of very specific follow-up. The next in the sequence could be 5 to 7 days later. It could be your soft call to action here. You invite them into the store to have a conversation or ask them more questions. But it's very low pressure. We want them to not get scared away. Then email 4 could be tagging them based off of the information, and they haven't responded since or haven't showed up in the store, just putting them on a warming sequence of just, like, promotional emails and information that you drop for your customer base, basically. Email 4, if we haven't got them in by then, probably wanna take them out of that sequence and nurture them at a much slower pace. So, with the keeping these people very specific, you wanna use a tagging system for retargeting. We want to have customer A was interested in nail trimming, and they also bought a bath in the previous, and so we wanna tag that customer's name with nails and bath, so that when we send them retargeting emails per those categories, it's very specific to stuff they're already interested in. Every action a lead takes tells you something. When they clicked on an ad, when they clicked or downloaded it, or you can even tell you what they ignored. If a customer's downloaded our sensitive stomach quiz, we shouldn't give them an email about new puppy food. We wanna make sure that nothing is generic, so the tagging is very important to maintain. And if you have a half decent CRM, let's say they downloaded the new puppy checklist, we have an automation within our CRM that we can take that tag off within 12 months because 'cause they're not gonna be needing that information in 12 months from now. Maybe a little less than that depending on at what age they got their puppy, but that's the best we can do when it comes to automation if they're not giving us that direct feedback. There's lots of different CRMs out there and have a lot of different cool capabilities. Definitely look into whatever one you use and how you can use it with as much automation as possible. The important thing is that it's not about annoying people. It is about being relevant at the right moment. If your emails are genuinely helpful and people do not unsubscribe, they look forward to them. That's the goal. Now, Dave, you've talked a lot in this series about durable systems, communication that sticks. What is the minimum viable nurture sequence you think would a retailer need to build and start from right now?
Starting from zero, it's like a blank sheet of paper. Everything looks overwhelming. We've described a lot of things that could be done, but I think with the minimum is we first have to, the first thing to look at is how are your current systems set up and what can you do consistently? I would think simple for starters, especially if you're starting from zero. Do you currently have a list? Are you currently using an email? The nice thing about email is you essentially own the list. So anything that you're doing with advertising or social media, those are all basically perishable. You stop doing them, social changes the rules. You could be kicked off a platform. There's so many things that could happen when you don't own the platform. Email you own. So that list is yours. And it's definitely one that you should be using for direct communication with your customers. So I would think simple. And I love the ideas of new customer immediate follow up. I think that's the one that I would start with because they're already in your store. So creating a capture system when you first discover that the customer's new. Hopefully you get them signed up at your point of sale. How do you export their email? What's the compelling reason that they should even give you an email? Right? That's the lead capture is what are you doing for them? What's the reason that they'd want to hand over their email? And then a nice introduction sequence that Tiff defined here is just warm connection, relevant, and 3 to 4 emails. I like the 3 numbers, but it can be 4. And then you have more and more to follow, whether it's every month or every couple of weeks, doesn't really matter. But the words that you use that I would like to point out is relevant. I like that. That's something that we want to connect and we want to be on point. A little bit of general information is okay, but specific information goes way further. So I think when you ask about minimum viable is the thing that you're going to do consistently is your minimum viable, right? The information that you currently have access to, you can begin to use today. So figure out maybe you have a monthly newsletter that you have relevant information, useful information for pet owners, and maybe something of benefit like list your deals, or maybe you do some coupons in that, and that's fine because now you have that relationship with the customer. So how are you going to get that? You're going to ask the customer when you realize that they're brand new. You're going to put them into your system, whether it's existing email provider or Tiff mentioned we use High Level, which is an actual CRM, customer relationship management, and it has some really nice automations. So this auto tagging, this auto untagging, depending on what your customer's doing, and automation to us is the way it's got to be. So minimum viable is figure out what you can deliver of value to these brand new customers. Give them a reason to give them for them to give you their email. And then once you have that in place, create that 3 to 4 sequence of reintroduction, re-encouragement to stop in, information that's in alignment with your best customers. That's the minimum I would do. And you can do that pretty quick without being overwhelmed. You probably already have the information that you need. And you just keep your emails short, keep them on point, keep them interesting and engaging to those customers that are brand new to your store.
Yeah, so if we put this all together, a simple lead capture or nurture checklist could be this. So, do you have at least one active lead magnet that matches your ideal customer? And think of things you probably already have, like a new puppy packet that you probably built a long time ago. Can you offer that digitally? Is your website capturing contact information? Do you have a form or a pop-up or a booking system that you can generate leads from? Are you using events to collect leads, not just foot traffic? So do you go to events? Do you actually when you talk to people, do you offer them something, give them an exchange of something to get them email so that you can retarget them? Do you have an automated email sequence that goes out within 24 hours of a new sign up or if they take that lead magnet? Are you tagging your leads with your CRM or your POS system based off of what they opted in for? So if you're already having in-depth conversations about nutrition with any customer that walks through the door, why not tell a new customer that this is something we do for free and then get them to the door and know when to expect them? A lead is a person who is already interested. They found you, they clicked on something, they gave you their information. The hardest part is already done for you. Your only job is to show up, be helpful, and make it easy for them to take the next step. Next week, we're going to close out this digital presence discussion with Google and social ads. This is going to be how we get the lead magnets out there, how we get them outside of organic content. How do we let people know that we have these things that we've built for them? How do we let them know about our business? So we're going to build them and learn how much money to spend. We talked about starting with a small budget and turning it up from there. How to make sure you're getting value for your money is huge. Knowing the algorithm that you need to learn by heart to know if your money's actually going and being well spent. Again, thanks, Dave, so much for being here, and we'll see you guys next week.